Good morning. Thank you for joining me as I give us a little preview for Sunday morning's message. This Sunday will be in Hebrews chapter 5, beginning in verse 1. For every high priest chosen from among men is appointed to act on behalf of men in relation to God, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. He can deal gently with the ignorant and wayward, since he himself is beset with weakness. Because of this, he is obligated to offer sacrifice for his own sins, just as he does for those of the people. And no one takes this honor for himself, but only when called by God, just as Aaron was. So also Christ did not exalt himself to be made a high priest, but was appointed by him who said to him, "You are my son, today I have begotten you." As he says also in another place, "You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek." Now, I have to admit, I am excited to dive deeply into Melchizedek, but I can't do it yet this week. The way the book of Hebrews is laid out is here in chapter 5, we get introduced to Melchizedek just briefly in referencing the Psalms. And then he will reference him one more time briefly. Where is that? Down in verse 10. And then sets him aside for the rest of chapter 5 and all of chapter 6, and then finally dives deeply into it. Melchizedek in chapter 7. So, I have to hold off on Melchizedek. We'll get a hint of him this week. We'll look more at the comparing and contrasting. I don't know if you noticed that as I read through it. There's the similarities of Jesus to the earthly high priest in that he relates, but the contrast because he doesn't relate in the matter of sin. He never sinned. Whereas the earthly high priest did sin. So we're going to see some comparing and some contrasting, a comparison that just as the earthly high priest did not serve unless called by God, Jesus did not serve except he was called by God. So Jesus did not come of his own accord per se, but he was obedient to the Father in doing what he commanded. Anyway, there's a lot to dive into, even without going into depth with Melchizedek. So I appreciate your prayers. Be sure to study this passage for yourself so that as you participate in the sermon on Sunday morning, that you too have an idea of what's going on and can be blessed even more by it, having studied it yourself.